Hello everyone, welcome to week 3. We have some solvent extractions to discuss in this week's lecture. So I want to go over a quick just recap of the types of extraction we're going to talk about. We have our CO₂ extraction, we have hydrocarbon extraction, and then we have ethanol extraction. In the book, when you're going through, or in the modules as you're moving forward, you're going to notice that we're going to cover CO₂, hydrocarbon, and then ethanol. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse that during the video. I want to do it a little bit different and make sure that I'm keeping you on your toes. So we're going to start off with ethanol. This was originally the first type of extraction that I actually participated in also in the CBD industry. I would say in 2018, 2019, I started working with Skytrace Farms, which is a Missouri local owned hemp grower and manufacturer. So I was able to get my hands on and really my foot in the door from my homegrown cultivation and doing the traditional Everclear and bud extractions in mason jars, and then into the industrial side of large scale, working with the ethanol instead of Everclear, and then instead of doing a half ounce at a time, I was working with about 20 to 100 pounds per batch. So the scale definitely increased, and the knowledge that I gained in this particular lab just helped me move forward and my understanding for hydrocarbon and CO₂ when I got into the medical side later. So ethanol extraction is pretty simple. It was the original way we created tinctures, the original concentrate method for at-home edibles, and then also a good way for us to start making distillate. When we discuss distillate, it is the original way that we distilled alcohol. So kind of keep that in mind. It's going to be making it into a vapor and then recollecting it and condensing it in the oil form and allowing that to separate the oil that we're looking for. In ethanol extraction, a lot of the times you're going to be running a short path or a white film distillation unit. After you agitate your flour in the alcohol, you'll create a solution that'll run through a roto evaporator, which will reclaim some of the alcohol that you used, and then that crude oil will be decarboxylated and then ran through a distillation unit. It kind of gives you a step-by-step of what you're looking for in that flow or the method of production. So when you're looking through the book, I hope that really helps you understand not only what you're doing at home with your Everclear and the material that we're extracting, but then how that correlates with the material you're reading for ethanol type extractions and products that are made from that. I will tell you, in my experience of making ethanol style concentrates, that in the industrial side of that, when you're talking about large scale, the one concentrate that you can make from ethanol that is pretty stable would be shatters. I've had good success with that. On the downside of making butters, crumbles, and those kind of consistencies is that you can get there, you can make those consistencies or textures for concentrates with ethanol. Purging out the ethanol that you need to get within a safety limit or your safety range is really, really difficult. So the one product that you're safe to be able to make and easy to purge out the ethanol is shatter. The other ones you get into some trial and error when you're going through those methods. So I'm going to move forward a little bit into the hydrocarbon extractions. Now, also, when I'm moving through these, I want to discuss how ethanol extraction is going to be the cheapest, usually the most common way that you'll see these extractions done throughout the cannabis industry, like worldwide. If you're looking at getting your foot in the door, making a business, getting them to be able to have some kind of product on the market, and then as income flows in, they can improve and spend more money towards different pieces of equipment, that's usually what you'll see happen. If a company has experience with ethanol in the past, or they have owners or technicians that work for them they might give them a heads up to skip the ethanol route and to move straight into hydrocarbon extraction. It's smart. Hydrocarbon extraction is a little more expensive than ethanol extraction is to originally get into for the business. Now, it's a lot easier for the technician. It's a quicker process, and it is something that allows you to have a better quality product at the end. So as you go through, I think this is why you notice a lot of transitioning from ethanol labs into hydrocarbon or CO₂ after they've done it a little while. There is a lot of post-processing or pre-processing that needs to happen with an ethanol lab. Hydrocarbon is a little different. Hydrocarbon, what you put in is very much related to what comes out of that machine. So if you put in really good flower from a cultivator, regardless if it's fresh frozen or dry cured, this material that comes out of the harvest pod is going to smell so much like the material that you put into the extraction column. Now, one thing that correlates with this is the sooner the material is harvested and processed in this extraction vessel, the lighter in color the material usually happens for your product. So, fresh frozen material, when you run this in a hydrocarbon system, a lot of the times it comes out very light colored, very pretty. This will be what you actually see in a lot of Instagram videos, Facebook videos, or YouTube channels. If you're looking at darker material, this is coming from either dry cured material that was harvested a couple months ago, or the material when it was put into an extraction vessel might have had some fan leaves or sugar leaves on it that were colored. They might have been a little dark in brown tips, something along those lines that would create the color change to happen by the time you collected it in the harvest pot. So there are some variables there that will happen for the most part when you're comparing your ethanol to hydrocarbon. The main differences are going to be ethanol is going to pull more compounds. It's going to be the most cost effective for a business that's starting off, and it does allow you to get products out there on the market pretty quickly. Hydrocarbon is going to cost you a little more. You're going to have a little bit better products and less processing that you have to worry about before you get that product out the door compared to the two. Now, CO₂ extraction, we're going to bump up to a different level there. Again, cost is a little higher than hydrocarbon extraction. Material that goes in will definitely correlate to what comes out of the end product. This machine allows you to do a little bit more. If ran by the proper operator, you can actually harvest terpenes, collect the oil. At the end of this machine run, you can reintroduce your terpenes that you collected from that same flower, put it into the concentrated oil, which is a huge benefit. You're not having to purchase terpenes later. You're using the same thing from the flower. Similar to hydrocarbon, whatever flower you put in, those terpenes transfer all the way through to the end product. CO₂, the only reason I mentioned that you would pull your terpenes first before extraction is CO₂ is very particular on what you're running and how long that machine will take to run. So a CO₂ system usually prefers that you decarboxylate your flower first and collect your terpenes in an oven, or you run a terpene collection pass first, and then after you collect your terpenes, you do a rerun to collect all the cannabinoids afterwards. That is a more of a labor intensity kind of business management thing, as you run through, if you were to harvest the cannabinoids and the terpenes at the same time with a CO₂ machine, the process will double or triple in the amount of time it takes you to collect all of those yields. So this gets into what is easier and best for the company. What are your business hours? How long does it take your technician? How well do they run for hours at a time? A lot of these things you'll want to kind of weigh together. So when you're discussing, again, CO₂ extraction is going to be the most expensive, the most effective and efficient usually. When you're comparing against products, they are delightful in taste. They don't have much waste product. So these are really going to be the ones that I look for in consumption as a patient, I do look for CO₂ or hydrocarbon extractions if they don't have solventless extractions on the market. That would be what I prefer. And again, this is going to be personal based. This is going to be very much opinion. So this is going to be what the owners of the business wanted, how much money they wanted to spend, what products that they wanted at the end of, the harvest and manufacturing side. So if there's any questions that you have while you're reading through, whether it's about operating a machine or the products that are produced by these machines, I want you to send me an email. We're going to talk about some different opinions on the discussion boards this week, but feel free to reach out anytime. I want to know what your thoughts and concerns are and see which one you prefer.